What's going on, everybody? It's Doug McDonald here from WrestlingRumors.net, and you're watching Wrestling Warm-Up right here on WrestlingRumors.net, the site that you go to for all your wrestling goods and all your wrestling jank. Boys, what's going on? It's another Monday. It's our go-home edition. Tonight of Champions. How y'all doing tonight?
Great. Pumped for some wrestling.
Are you really? Or are you going to be watching NFL again? You're going to be watching Monday Night Football?
No, I'll probably watch for all the Monday Night Football games. Not that good anyway.
What are you excited to see tonight on Raw, Alex? Since you're the one speaking to me currently, let me ask you. What we got Brock Lesnar coming back. It's the last show before a pay-per-view. What are you excited about tonight?
Well, it'll be nice to see Lesnar actually on TV for once. I mean, him and Cena are probably going to clash physically and verbally, but I mean, other than that, there's not that much to get excited about because Night of Champions, in my opinion at least, doesn't feel as big as it should have been given that these network subscriptions are expiring. It's supposed to be this WrestleMania type event. I don't feel that vibe, but at the same time, it feels a lot like Battleground, terrible television, but that led to one of the best pay-per-views of the entire year.
I was about to hit on that. Every time we seem to get terrible television build, we get a great pay-per-view, so I'm actually hoping for that this coming Sunday. Walter, what do you think, man? What are you excited about for the go-home show tonight on Raw? We got 3 hours. We got Lesnar. We got some other things happening. You tell me, what are you actually excited about during Raw tonight?
Well, I obviously can get excited about Brock Lesnar because of the rarity of his appearances these days. He's the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. I mean, who wouldn't want to see him at this point?
It makes it feel big. It makes this Raw feel big, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Lesnar, Heyman, the amazing promo they had between Heyman and Cena, hyping this thing up. I mean, I can't wait to see if they at least get physical. And, the rumors, of course, that we might have some NXT guys on the show tonight, which is always awesome because I think they stole the show last week when they did the tag team match. So if they have a match again tonight, I think that's great. But number one, got to tune in for Lesnar.
And that's a good point that you're making, too, is that, everybody was complaining about the fact that Lesnar's not going to be on TV much. But look at how much this Raw's been hyped up. Like, this is good. Like, this is what you want out of a champion. The champion's actually going to be on the show, so it makes it feel bigger. It makes it feel more like a must-see show because the champ's going to be there. And that's what I was saying from the get-go, that having a guy like Brock Lesnar be your champ and he's not going to be there every week is going to lead to it being actually more exciting when he's actually there and it's being promoted for the show. And for me, I feel like that's what we're getting tonight. It's a little more exciting. It's a little more hyped. It's a go-home show for a pay-per-view. I'm not saying it's going to be the best show in the world, but I'm actually excited to see Brock Lesnar. And that alone should say to the naysayers, look at what Lesnar being the champion does for the title. It makes you excited to see the title. It makes you excited to see the champion. And it's Lesnar, so we should get something. And I know there were some people on Twitter asking earlier if he would be competing in a match tonight. Not going to happen. He is there to promote the pay-per-view. He is only going to be competing on pay-per-views. If he gets physical with John Cena, that's cool. Maybe we get something, a la what we got before Extreme Rules 2012. I don't think we're going to see a busted lip or anything, or how Lesnar got busted open by the turnbuckle post when Triple H threw him into it before their SummerSlam bout in the same year. I don't think we're going to get that. Maybe we get that kind of physicality. I'm hoping for that. I just don't think that we're going to. I think we're just going to see kind of like what we saw with the NWO reunion leading into the SummerSlam the bout, and with Hogan's party and all that junk where Lesnar just came out, did something to promote the pay-per-view, and made you pay $9.99 a month or more if you actually just still order pay-per-views. I can't believe people still do that, but they do. If you pay $65, they're going to get you to pay the money to see Lesnar compete. He's not going to be competing tonight. If he gets physical, cool, but he's not going to be. I would bet the cost of a year's worth of network subscription to say that he does not compete in a match tonight. I'm excited for it, though. And like what you said, Walter, man, NXT TakeOver was awesome. Before we get talking about Raw, let's talk about TakeOver a little bit because we haven't had time to do any kind of reaction or anything for that. How awesome was TakeOver Thursday night? Alex, did you get to watch that at all?
Yeah, I saw the replay after the terrible Steelers game, but that's another topic. The Fatal 4-Way main event was probably one of the best matches of the year. I mean, every time those guys go out there, they steal the show no matter what, and that's something I forgot to hit on, too, on the Open. That should be another bright spot on Raw because those guys are allegedly coming back again.
Yeah, we know that they're booked, and Walter, I mean, you and I, we were talking to each other during the event, and we were marking out for it because it was so much better than what we've seen on Raw, at least the last 3 weeks. it did better than some of the pay-per-views we've seen this year, in my opinion, as far as progression and outside of a couple of squash matches. Was it the best NXT takeover? No, I think the last one was better, but we had a debut. We had Kenta come out and change his name, and then we had some incredible matches. I thought the Divas match between Bayley and Paige was solid. I thought the tag team title match to open the show was sick. And I thought that, of course, the Fatal 4-Way, in my opinion, is the match of the year currently. What do you think, buddy? What do you think about that NXT takeover? Give me your thoughts. I know you loved it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I'm an insane NXT mark at this point, and I enjoy their programming 10 times as much as I do Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown, which says a lot. I mean, developmental right now, whatever you want to call it. The talent they have, the talent pool that they have, is just leaps and bounds ahead of what we're seeing each and every Monday night. What I will say is this. I think NXT Arrival and the first NXT TakeOver kind of set the bar so high that this one, while it had, a couple of great matches, I think the other two kind of, were number 1 and 2 in the pecking order. With that being said, I think this was still a solid all-around event. Like you said, the tag team match to open the show, the Lucha Dragons, new NXT Tag Team Champions, knocking off my Ascension, who have been hyping up for the longest time. Maybe this is a sign that they'll be on the main roster soon. If you've seen the spoilers for NXT, you'll notice some certain things, so I'll leave that for the readers, and maybe they can see that on WrestlingRumors.net. And then Bayley and Charlotte. It wasn't going to come close to what we saw with Charlotte and Natalya, which is one of the greatest Divas matches, frankly, ever. But you know what? I think Bayley surprised a lot of people. I think her entrance is really cute with the inflatable guys. I think she can get over and even get over on the main roster. I think she's special. Yeah, exactly. We went right to the Family Guy reference right there.
That's all I think of. I'm not a big fan of the Bayley character. I think the girl can go, but I'm not a big fan of her character.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's kind of like pulling this whole underdog gimmick, which I think a lot of people can get behind. We don't have that in the Divas division. We haven't seen that in a while.
Unless it's on Brazzers, it's not working.
But you know what? Even on the NXT Fallout show, she was hyping up about how she was trying to gain Charlotte's respect, and she hopes that after her performance, she did so. And Charlotte was teasing that maybe they'll have a rematch somewhere down the line. I think there's still some things they can do with those two. Maybe throw in Sasha Banks. And then the main event. I was watching it with my girlfriend, and she's not the biggest wrestling fan, but you know what? I got her hooked through that match alone. Her biggest thing, I said this on the Nick and Brian show earlier. Her biggest question was, what are those strings coming off of Tyler Breeze's boots? Why would he wear that to the wrestling ring? And I was trying to convey that's just how his gimmick plays out. He's gorgeous and whatnot, but you know what? That's easily one of the top matches of the year. I wouldn't go as far as calling it the best match of the year because I think the first two NXT pay-per-views or events had similarly great matches like Sami Zayn versus Cesaro and then Neville and Dallas in the ladder match. But you know what? Kudos, hats off to NXT because they are taking over WWE right now.
And I give you credit for mentioning those other matches. For me, though, man, I mean, even though I loved the Cesaro and Zayn's match at Takeover or at Arrival, excuse me, one of those things where I loved their 2 out of 3 falls match more, and that was last year. But this year, man, I don't know, man, that Fatal 4-Way was just perfectly timed. Everything was well executed. There was only one botch in the match, and they had a 30-minute match with 4 guys doing a lot of high-impact stuff. I thought it was well executed. If I had to say my top 3 candidates for match of the year, obviously Cesaro, Zayn 2, the match that we saw on TakeOver, and probably Daniel Bryan Triple H to open WrestleMania 30. Those are my 3 top matches of the year so far. And I would have to even put this Fatal 4-Way right up there with Daniel Bryan and Triple H, if not above it. That's just how I see it right now. Even though as much as I would love the Natalya Charlotte Divas match, because I don't give a lot of Divas credit, but that thing was, you could main event Raw with that match instead of anything the Bellas touch, and I would lose my mind. But that's where we are, and that's what we're doing. One of those things where. If these guys come out and have some solid time on Raw tonight, I'm going to be extremely excited. The Ascension's booked for Raw. It doesn't mean that there may not be a dark match. They've been working dark matches, so maybe that's what they're doing. Same thing goes with Zayn and Neville. But after the response that Neville and Zayn got this past week on Raw, why would you not have them on TV again? You have 3 hours to fill, and you're trying to sell this NXT brand. I would put them on every single week from this point on.
And also, Frank Manzo actually mentioned this on Wrestle Reaction last week when Nick and Brian were asking him, what did he think of the NXT Tag Team match? And he mentioned something very important, and I hope they do that this week in case the NXT guys are on the show. I think you need to give them their entrances. I think that's a major
I
part of their
agree.
characters. Most of the audience probably had no idea who those 4 guys were. Give
Yep.
them their entrances. Endorse the fact that Adrian Neville is the NXT champion, because I wrote an article about Adrian Neville and about how I feel his future is bright for on the main roster, and I mentioned how John Bradshaw labeled and Michael Cole, man, they put over Neville to the nth degree. I could not
Yep.
believe it, because I'm not used to them doing that.
They
were
actually
like,
called the match.
exactly.
They actually called the match.
And JBL even said, in 20 years, I've never seen anything like Adrian Neville. That's how you put a guy over. But you know what? In the future, I think they need their entrances. And you know what? From a personal taste, I think all 4 guys have awesome entrance music. Put that on television.
Well, you know me, buddy, man. I'm such an advocate for entrances. I'm such an advocate for getting Jim Johnson in the freaking WWE Hall of Fame as soon as possible, because the guy is a legend as far as I'm a musician, man. When I see those kinds of people that put their hearts and souls into doing stuff that can elevate careers. I mean, think about freaking Real American for Hulk Hogan. When you hear that music hit, you knew something was about to go down. That was huge. When you heard Ultimate Warrior's music hit, you knew something was about to get intense. Even though he was crazy, you knew these things. Entrance music. I mean, listen to the pop that Austin's music gets every single time that glass shatters. Entrance music makes a difference, and for me, entrances make a difference in connecting with the fans. I say it every single time we talk about Cesaro. I think Cesaro has the ability. I've talked about it for years because I thought his entrance music before Real Americans was crap. I think his entrance music right now is crap. One of those things where if entrance music and the entrance does not connect to fans instantly, because that's the first thing the fans get of the superstar coming out. If that music and that entrance doesn't instantly connect with the fans, there's a disconnect there for the rest of the match. You can go in there and you can work a match and get them over with your in-ring work, sure, but you're going to have some kind of entrance, some kind of music that sets the tone from the very beginning. And I've said that from day one. We actually talked about that with Vince Russo and Cesaro and some other people on our SummerSlam wrestling warm-up pre-show. Entrances are huge. I agree completely, Walter. I agree. Frank Manzo.
A lot of people are actually saying that Kenta Hikaru, what's his name again? Hideo Itami.
Hideo
right?
Itami.
People are saying that his entrance music is like, wow, unbelievable.
It was
we only
sick.
got like a taste of it at
it.
NXT TakeOver, but I was digging it. You know, like the Oriental music playing at the start, and then it kind of just went to rock, which is something you don't really see when you give these like Japanese superstars their entrance music. You usually kind of goes very stereotypical with the sounds and music. But you know what, Itami, man, I'm loving it so far. Good start.
I think Taka Michinoku had the best Japanese entrance music I've heard.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. I mean, and of course you can say Yokozuna, but Yokozuna was so basic, and the guy wasn't even Japanese, but the gimmick was, and that's why that music worked. But Hideo Itami, Kenta had some great music on Thursday. I hope they run with that because it sounded really, really good. And you could tell that Jim Johnson was all over that. That was not $CFO. I'll tell you that right now. But I do have to give CFO $sign some credit because Retaliation, I do believe, is the name of Dean Ambrose music. And when that opening slide, if it didn't have those Motley Crue-esque slides at the beginning, that into it, it would be probably the most generic theme I've ever heard in my life. And I think that little slide right there, like when you hear that slide hit, and I think we might hear it on Sunday when Dean Ambrose makes an appearance at Night of Champions, if he doesn't make an appearance tonight. I don't expect him tonight. We could see him. We could not. I expect him to return at Night of Champions. I don't expect him to return tonight. But when his music hits, people go crazy. It's just like with Austin with the glass breaking. When you hear that, people start going nuts. So I think entrance music makes a difference. And that again, going back to Cesaro, those sirens are god awful. The first set of sirens made everybody think Big Papa Pump was going to come out. The new sirens make you feel like a European ambulance is coming at you, and there's nothing about that music that's going to set somebody on fire and set somebody to get excited, ready to go. And that's a big thing. I think Sami Zayn has some great music. The ska theme is great. I think it connects to his personality very well. It took me a while to get used to it, and now I really do enjoy it. I think Adrian Neville's, I'm not a huge fan of his entrance music. I'm not a huge fan of his entrance, to be honest.
I work out to that, man. I don't hate Break Orbit.
But I do think they deserve entrances tonight. And after the show that they put on Thursday, I think they'll get it. And I hope that they get it. And I hope that they actually do get a good spot tonight on the freaking thing. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about Jazz is even bringing up different people in the chat room, and talking about Big E and Sheamus, they're not doing really much on the roster. They're not doing much for WWE. Let's talk about Big E for a minute, because what we've heard in the news over the last couple of days and over the last few weeks, we've seen Xavier Woods posting some pictures on Instagram. Walter, you wrote about this today. We might actually see this Woods, Langston, and Big E faction come to light here soon.
Did I write about that today? I don't think I did.
Maybe it was yesterday when you wrote about it. I saw it this weekend, and I know that you wrote it. So
about the faction with Woods and Kingston and Big E.
Yeah, it actually is
that was definitely not me. That was definitely not me. But I can talk
you,
about it.
No, it wasn't me either.
Well, maybe
who's writing on our site?
Maybe, you know what? Maybe we don't even have that news on our site, which is
Ross
not even.
Maxwell.
Oh my God, Ross Maxwell
Maybe.
may have written that for WrestlingRumors.net, so we need to check into that. But the news is, seriously, Xavier Woods, Big E, and of course Kofi Kingston, their little faction they have going, is expected to debut on TV again very, very soon. Probably after Night of Champions. And the reason they didn't want to do it when they were building it was because of the Alberto Del Rio situation. It's been confirmed at this point. Vince McMahon did not want a racially heavy faction or storyline going forward, and with the rumors of it being a new Nation of Domination, they definitely tried to go away from that as fast as humanly possible. With the whole Alberto Del Rio case that was about to be opened up and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, we know Alberto Del Rio won his portion of one of the cases and can now compete whenever he wants, and can work for AAA. So that's good to know for him. But the Xavier Woods, Big E, and Kofi Kingston faction should be coming up soon, and if it's me, I'm booking them with the Usos and Goldust and Stardust, and trying to get the Ascension up as soon as possible, and let's try to build a new tag team division, because the only thing, and I'll say this, what we've seen recently with WWE and tag teams is that they build these tag teams up and they split them off extremely fast. Like, I don't think the Real Americans, even though there were two single stars that came together to form a tag team that was very much more successful than their singles careers, I still have faith for Cesaro, even though I think Jack Swagger's done now that he got squashed by Rusev twice. I think one of these things where the tag teams need to stick together longer. Usos, that's going to happen because they're brothers. Stardust and Goldust and Cody and Goldust, whatever you want to call them, they're sticking together longer because they're brothers. With these other teams, like with Cesaro and Jack Swagger, I thought they should have stayed together longer. They have great chemistry, they had a great gimmick, they had a great manager, and that could have went for a while. But instead, they pulled the trigger on trying to set Cesaro aside and move him into a big push, and then they squashed the push, and now you got this lame tag team division that we have. You got the cousins of Primo and Epico doing the whole Los Matadores thing, but nobody takes it seriously. When Ryback comes back, you got Ryback Axel, which is actually a decent team. They work together as a team. I don't know how far that's going to go. Alex would want Ryback to be a main event star as soon as he comes back.
Yeah, that tag team's over.
But one of those things where I'm saying the Ascension work so well together as a team. I don't want these guys to get split up when they come up. I want them to be a tag team for the next 2 to 3 years. And Water, I know you love the Ascension.
I really do. I mean, I've always said they're kind of like an awesome mix of power, which you get with Connor, and then the technical aspect and the high flying with Victor. I think they coincide very well, and I hope that they get like a long and prosperous run on the main roster. But it's like, okay, for the last couple of years, we've seen how WWE handles their tag team division. They're always looking for the next big single star, so they don't take their tag team division seriously, and they think the moment they split up a team, one person is going to be the standout, and they can push that person to the moon. But it hasn't happened as of late. And you can take the Real Americas, for example. We all thought that Cesaro was going to be the next big thing. He was possibly going to be wrestling Lesnar at Night of Champions. So much for that. The biggest problem we have with him now is his entrance music, which is the last thing we talk about. But hopefully,
I'll say this. I'll say this for Cesaro is one of the reasons why I haven't lost faith for the guy is that Cesaro is being allowed to show his personality again. I think they've realized that they need him to come out and be a heel that shows a cocky attitude. And he's actually being able to show a little bit more of his personality, and it's getting over with the fans again. And I think that's some good promise for Cesaro moving forward. Yeah, it's not a title match, or it's not a big match with Lesnar like we thought was going to happen back in May. But at least we're getting a little bit something more from Cesaro right now, and I think that's a good sign that we're going to get a little bit more from him. Now, looking at Cesaro, he's got this match with Sheamus on Sunday. What do you think we see from them tonight? Do you think we see we've seen Cesaro go over on Sheamus a couple times. Do you think we see Sheamus go over on Cesaro tonight?
Alex, you got this?
I mean, possibly. I mean, I don't know how much they can highlight these feuds because Night of Champions is a pretty stacked card. I mean, we're looking at maybe 10 matches if they add Jack Swagger versus Bo Dallas in the pre-show. So I don't know how much time they have. They might just highlight the feud a little bit with Sheamus possibly getting the upper hand on them for once. But, I mean, Sheamus will still probably come away with the U.S. title afterwards.
What do y'all think? You think Dallas is hurt?
Not seriously enough to not be on the show if they need him to be.
The funny thing was we got a lot of Twitter response to this whole story about Bo Dallas possibly getting injured over the weekend at house shows. And we had half people going, no, freaking no. We were looking forward to this match between him and The Miz and possibly Dolph Ziggler in a triple threat, or maybe we get just Bo Dallas and Jack Swagger in a match. And then we got all these people that, I mean, I got more. It's probably 60-40. 60% of people on Twitter were going, good, we're glad he's injured. He needs to be off TV. Do you think that? Do you really think that that kind of response is garnered? Like why are people cheering that Bo Dallas got injured? Do you think it's because he's doing a good job of being a heel that's annoying?
I don't think so. I think they've just really done wrong by his gimmick. I mean, the hype his character was getting from the start. Excuse me. I feel like I'm going to sneeze in a second. Maybe I'm allergic to Bo Dallas. I don't know. The problem
I believe, and you can sneeze.
Yeah, I got a Bo sneeze. That's what I got to do.
Bo sneeze. I like it.
Yeah, Bo sneeze. There you go. But yeah, I think I was so into the Bo Dallas character when he debuted. I think his entrance music is fantastic. I loved his kind of like heelish face, kind of borderline, character where he would run around the ring and
I'm a
hoist
believer.
up in the air, and fans were getting into that, and it was awesome. I think the worst thing they could have done for him is lose, and I think losing to R-Truth kind of really set him back. He just became another guy. You know, when you have a guy like when you have a guy come up from NXT and the fans aren't really aware of who he is, and he kind of has a cheesy gimmick like this, they have to do something with him that makes him stand out. And I think that winning streak that he was on could have really become something important, something special. You know, he wasn't going to challenge Lesnar for the title anytime soon, but you know what? He could have been like a dominant, winning by shady methods in the mid card. Maybe have a run as like the United States Intercontinental Champion. As soon as he lost to R-Truth, he just became just another guy. And this whole feud with Jack Swagger, which I think is absolutely terrible and has no business being on TV. Those two are such a bad match for each other. It just smells a lot of. And we've reported on the site that Vince McMahon isn't very high on Dallas either. So a lot of metagaming factors.
You think that's why he got thrown with Swagger, though? You think that's why he got just thrown in with Swagger because they just don't really think that his gimmick's getting over and they don't like him?
Not
that's
necessarily.
A terrible gimmick that's a terrible matchup for him. It's a bad matchup.
I just think he was working kind of like starting from the bottom, and when you have the top guy, management saying, "I don't have much faith in you," it just makes your road to stardom a lot more difficult.
Which sucks so bad because Bo Dallas, the character can get over so good. I think I really do think that if Triple H was running this thing and he was pushing him the right way, that we could see Bo Dallas become a big star and a big heel that needs to be there. Thing is that he was getting over as a face more than a heel, and they decided to squash him for a little bit. Which I hate that, dude. I'm sorry, but if a character's getting over, let it get over. Let the fans like who they want. I mean, if Vince McMahon really does believe that all heels and faces are out of the picture and that it's a gray area and the fans decide who they want to cheer, then why try to kill someone's momentum when they're getting fan responses like Bo Dallas was getting?
I think Vince Russo's mentioned that in the past when we did the SummerSlam show or it was Wrestle Reaction or whatever, when he was talking about how back in the Attitude Era, if someone was getting over, the writers were like, well, I guess the fans like him. Let's start putting our momentum on this guy. Let's start making him a star. The fans obviously want them. The fans should be right. They're the ones tuning in. They're the ones buying the tickets. But in this day and age, it's like whatever the WWE wants goes. If the fans want Bo Dallas as a face and they don't, they're gonna win.
Likewise, let's talk about this. Likewise, if Rusev goes over Mark Henry on Sunday, I'm excited because that keeps pushing Rusev over as a monster character. But if Mark Henry is the Olympian that finally takes out the Russian hero Rusev, what the heck have they been doing with Rusev? Like, what the heck have they been doing with Rusev going forward? Creative cannot allow this to happen. I'm sorry. They cannot let Mark Henry be the first person to beat Rusev. Unless you're going to push him. I can't see that happening.
I mean, one loss, too, just like Bo Dallas, that character may be over just as quickly as it started. I mean, they need to have him go over Henry. It'll kind of be like WrestleMania 29, where every single time Ryback loses a pay-per-view, you think, oh, they're going to feed him to Henry. He'll get a big WrestleMania moment. No, he loses there, turns heel. Whoop. Terrible.
Failure.
I think Rusev is just kind of like on a downward slope now anyways. I think we've reached that point where after months and months and months, you know, the whole Lana coming out and praising Putin and then going in the middle of the ring and singing the national anthem, it's been done to death. I think he needs to do something different, something to change his, you know, become more vicious in the ring, say something different on the mic, have Lana do something. I don't get it. I mean, I think the Jack Swagger feud was perfect for him just because it not only did it put Swagger over, but, you know, the whole America versus Russia thing at that time, especially with some of the incidents going on around the world, I think it was just perfect timing. Now with Mark Henry, it's just a rehash of what we saw last time, but Mark Henry is a more viable challenger just because of his size, his girth, being the world's strongest man. I think, you know, I assume Rusev is going to win at Night of Champions, but after that, he really needs to do something important. Maybe even feud with John Cena if he loses at Night of Champions. Be in the main event where he should be at this point.
I mean, that's one of the things is that they're booking him to be a main eventer, and I'm hoping that happens here soon. I'm hoping Rusev gets put in that place. John, we're talking about Rusev and Mark Henry and what we expect out of this feud, and we're talking about the fact that Bo Dallas obviously got, you know, when he was starting to get over, got pushed, you know, and got squashed out of the build, the momentum that fans were giving him. Obviously, we talked about Cesaro doing the same thing. Cesaro started getting over, and the creative squashed his momentum as well by putting him with Heyman and not having Heyman actually build him up or not letting Cesaro show his character. Now we're getting that from Cesaro, so I have a little more high hopes for Cesaro. If Rusev loses this match on Sunday, which I don't think is going to happen, but if Rusev loses this match on Sunday, do you think that you can throw Rusev into this, you know, mishandling of creative pile with Cesaro and Bo Dallas and some other guys that way?
Yeah, definitely. I do think that. I think the issue right now is, I mean, let me pose this out there to you guys. Who is going to be the one to beat Rusev? Who's going to be that guy who's going to be so recipient of beating this man who they've booked as a monster heel that it's going to benefit that person so much? Because we thought originally it would be Jack Swagger.
Right.
That didn't end up happening. Now, could they revisit that? They could, because Swagger never tapped out.
Right.
He passed out.
Right.
I don't know who it would be.
If it's Henry, though, I mean, do you agree with us as we say if it's Henry, they have wasted one of the biggest, you know, monster pushes for a heel that they've done over the span of the last 20 years?
If it's Henry, the only thing that you can do with him is then put him against Brock Lesnar for the championship.
Explain.
Yeah.
Explain.
I mean, like you said, they pushed Rusev as a monster heel. If Mark Henry is the man to conquer Rusev, then the next logical step is, I'm the man who beat Rusev, I need that title. I'm deserving of that title. I conquered the next closest thing to the unstoppable force. Well, now give me the unstoppable force.
Okay, well, we know, rumor-wise, that Big Show is the next opponent for Brock Lesnar. How do you get Big Show to Brock Lesnar?
You know I wouldn't get Big Show.
How does that happen if that's what they're going to go towards? How does that?
Maybe he'll cry his way into a championship match.
He might cry. I know that they made fun of him crying in the WWE countdown from last week about imposing big man. You're going to talk about an imposing big man, and then you're going to talk about him crying for an entire year. I think that's the most ridiculous.
It's just, I mean, it's going to come down to how Night of Champion ends and how Raw the next night ends. Oh my God, I don't want to see.
There's even rumors that because the reports coming out that, you know, the Brock Lesnar and John Cena match, they might have John Cena's next feud interfere in that and cost him. There's even talk it could be Rusev at this point, which would be Rusev versus John Cena. He could be the next guy to beat him.
Yeah, whether it's Rusev, whether it's Rollins, whoever it is, you know, that's what that boils down to. But
sorry, I was just going to answer your question about who I think should be the one to beat Rusev, and I think there's only one guy on the roster right now who can do it and should do it. It would benefit him the most, and I think that's Roman Reigns. I think if you want to keep pushing Roman Reigns as this next challenger for Lesnar, especially at WrestleMania, having a win over Rusev, being the first guy to beat him, that could go a long way.
Brutal feud, though. It would make no sense, and it just
they don't have to feud at all. They can just have like a one-off match, and Roman Reigns beats him.
That says a lot. That's totally
creative. That could be WWE Creative's plan. You never know with Creative what they're doing.
You see that main event Monday Night Raw one night. You never know.
Oh my God! And they do it on Raw, not on a pay-per-view. Oh, that would be so bad. And let's talk about another guy that's been creatively mishandled, Bray Wyatt. Let's talk about that.
He may be the worst of them all right now.
Oh my God, he's not even on the Night of Champions. He's not even on the Night of Champions card currently. And if they put him on, who are they going to put him up against? Big Show?
Yep.
And they have a one-off?
Yep. They did that with Kofi Kingston, right? When they had the Wyatt Kingston
Has the pre-show match been announced yet?
No, but I guarantee you it was supposed to be Jack Swagger, Bo Dallas, and we'll see if that actually takes place because Bo Dallas is apparently hurt.
Better not be Wyatt's show.
It very well could.
Oh God.
Could be Wyatt's show.
Then he moves into the main event the next pay-per-view.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Big Show's the pre-show, and then he main events Hell in a Cell.
What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? At that point, if that's the case, what are we doing? Why are there 25 writers that have jobs? Why does my buddy, who's a writing assistant, still have a job at that point? If you're a writer's assistant, at least step up at some point. Hey, I'm talking to you, buddy. I'm not going to say your name because I don't want everybody to know who you are. But why aren't you stepping up and saying, hey, this is not good. This is not a good idea.
I'm telling you, this is Vince. This is Vince booking.
You ever think that his feud with Jericho, which I really think kind of dropped the ball, I don't think it was nearly as people expected it would be. You think that kind of caused management to lose a little bit of faith in him? Because if you can't have a decent feud with Chris Jericho, you know, what does that say about you?
It's not his fault at all. It's not his fault. It's what he did exactly what creative told him to do.
But you know they put the blame on him. That's how it works.
Oh my God.
You think they're looking at the writers right now and saying, we let Bray Wyatt down? No, they're saying Bray Wyatt let us down.
Which is ridiculous, in my opinion. So we're talking about Roman Reigns. We're talking about Seth Rollins. We're talking about who might cost John Cena the title this Sunday so that John Cena can not have to lose cleanly again to Brock Lesnar. If it's going to be Seth Rollins or Rusev, what the heck does that mean? I would like it to be Rusev because then you have Rusev going into the main event picture. And he's been booked as a monster. It would make sense, but they did the same thing with Bray Wyatt, and we saw what's happened with Bray Wyatt.
So what happens if Cena's the guy who beats Rusev, then?
Right. Then the internet explodes with hatred, even more hatred. I can't even think about the response that it gets if John Cena beats Rusev for the first time. Are you kidding me? What if he wins his 16th World Championship this Sunday?
If John Cena beats Rusev for the first time, he goes the same route of Vladimir Kozlov.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he just becomes another Russian gimmick.
Another Russian gimmick that failed miserably, right?
Now, look, he has to lose eventually. He does.
No, I'm not saying that he never loses.
Right.
But he's got.
It just has to be to the right guy.
It's got to be to the right guy. It has to be. Absolutely has to be. And with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, we all are banking on Dean Ambrose showing up Sunday night and getting involved in that match. Are we not? Is there anybody that is not counting on that happening?
Or at least his music's got to hit or something.
Yeah, his presence will be felt.
Yeah.
I mean, even I honestly expect him to be on the show. Period. He was advertised at first in a tag match. They're not doing the tag match. If at some point Kane gets involved, I'm going to map out the match for you now. Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins are going at it. Kane comes down to get involved, and then Dean Ambrose comes out and gets involved. That's how it's going to go down. We're going to see Dean Ambrose on Raw the next night. I'm actually more excited about the Raw coming on September 22nd than I am on the 21st. Because Dean Ambrose is coming back. And everybody's excited about Ambrose. Everybody's really backing Ambrose. Everybody's really hot on Ambrose. What do you guys think about Ambrose? I want your honest opinions on Ambrose.
If I can expand this a little bit even, and I'll definitely hit on Ambrose, where the hell does Triple H fit into this equation?
Correct.
I mean, we've been hearing for months it was supposed to happen at SummerSlam, that it was supposed to happen at Night of Champions. With the way things are being booked, Roman Reigns versus Triple H doesn't happen until at least Survivor Series, maybe even TLC, the way that it is right now.
Yeah, he hasn't really stuck his nose in a lot of this stuff. It's been basically Kane.
And that nose can get stuck in anything.
Yeah.
That's true.
How big it is.
It's enormous.
I'm still sticking with my bold prediction. I've been saying this for months. I think it's a perfect scenario at Survivor Series.
Oh, it is.
2-year anniversary. No, not with Triple H. I think with the Shield guys. I think the 2-year anniversary of the Shield is at Survivor Series. You have the triple threat match that the world has been craving for ever since the Shield broke up. You do Ambrose versus Rollins versus Reigns, and then you lead into a match with Triple H and maybe, like you said, TLC.
Or they do the massive Roman Reigns versus Ryback payoff of the 2-year anniversary of the Shield.
Yes.
But no,
Alex starts doing yes chants with emotions.
Regarding Ambrose, I mean, I think we're all universally, drinking that Kool-Aid. We all are behind Ambrose. We think he's a huge star to be, and yeah, has an awesome theme song too. It's just, when is he going to get over that hump? And that hump is not his fault. It's they're going to throw something in his way.
Yeah, and people are kind of overreacting with this whole he's the next Stone Cold Steve Austin thing. I mean, his character is similar to him. What is that? It's like a freaking lawnmower.
What? I thought I heard his music hit. I'm sorry.
Am I
What
hallucinating?
were you saying?
Am I hearing these things? It's totally me. Like I was trying to say, I think people need to calm down with the Stone Cold Steve Austin comparisons, only because.
Oh, get over it! What are you?
What?
kidding me?
What?
You really don't think that Dean Ambrose is getting the same kind of response that Stone Cold Steve Austin was getting in
Are you kidding? Really? You think he's getting Stone Cold Steve Austin-esque responses?
Not Stone Cold Steve Austin circa 1998, 1999. He is the epitome of what Stone Cold Steve Austin was coming out of 96, going into 97. And I said it to Vince Russo, who agreed with me on our pre-show leading up to SummerSlam.
Oh man, we're reading two
Trump
different
card.
books at this point, man. I'm
Russo
sorry, I
agreed.
did not see that.
Dropped.
Well, pyroandballyhoo.com, check it out, guys.
PyroandBallyhoo.com. Go ahead. Yeah,
The
go
good thing is
sign up to be part of the brand.
They're making the casual fan forget that Dean Ambrose even exists right now, which is a good thing
Yep.
because when he comes back, the Bridgestone Arena is going to lose its schnoz.
Mm-hmm.
But, he's going to get his revenge on Sept. He'll beat him at Hell in a Cell. And it's just, where do you go from there? And that's where I propose that I still think the stars align perfectly, that the first matchup between Reigns and Triple H is that Team Reigns versus Team Triple H.
I agree completely.
It's
And you
still-
get those two teams with the freaking authority going against Team Reigns. Who would you put in Team Reigns?
You
Roman
put
Reigns.
Ambrose.
Who else?
Usos.
Usos, maybe.
You put we'll see where the Usos are.
I don't see that, but
Um,
who else would you put in that group?
You need 4 or 5 guys.
We could have Big Show in there. We could
Five
have
guys. Show and Henry.
we could have Show
God.
Henry. I mean, it depends where they go with those individual feuds, obviously. But
Cena, maybe.
we thought Cena. Yeah.
You know, but like at previous Survivor Series, they haven't really put a lot of emphasis on these elimination
So
tag
why
team
does that
matches. Like,
have
wasn't
to
it
be-
last year we had like an opener that was just kind of like booked, like on the pre-show? That was like a Survivor Series thing.
I mean, I was at Survivor Series 2011, and I very much that was Team Orton versus Team Barrett,
Yeah.
and that was a good match. That's the one where Seam Cara got hurt. But
Hey, Pijo, excuse me.
You
Hang on.
wanna-
I gotta address Pijo in the chat room. Imagine if Dean Ambrose gets crickets when he returns. You've lost your effing mind, sir. That's not happening.
You said that?
He,
Oh
when
God.
when he returns,
next
Ambrose
Austin,
is
but-
getting the place is going to lose their minds. That's how much of an impact Dean Ambrose has already made.
You want a hashtag bold prediction right here? It doesn't have to do with Ambrose, but it has to do with Survivor Series. And I know it's been done before with the Nexus or whatever. I fully expect a Team WWE versus Team NXT match at Survivor Series, if only because they're slowly teasing these undercard guys, these mid-carders, saying, well, the NXT guys are coming on Raw and taking our spotlight. You know what? If they continue having them on the...
Titus O'Neil down in NXT.
No. You know what? If we see the NXT guys on Raw tonight and we continue seeing them on the show, this could become a recurring thing.
And
So don't tell
spoiler
us-
alert, Titus O'Neil destroyed the NXT guys in NXT.
Oh, for the next 4 weeks.
He just ran right through them.
Spoiler alert as well. If you don't want to know about what happens on NXT the next 4 weeks, stop watching right now. Hideo Itami wrestles every week and gets a win every week.
No one
Because
complains here.
they're going to build Kenta.
Funaki.
They're going to build Kenta into a freaking monster. And
I
it's
hope you
gonna
know
be
how
awesome.
happy I am that Funaki showed up.
Not to mention,
Indeed.
They were calling for that during his
Yes.
his first appearance at the GTS.
yes, and God Almighty, I already can see Michael Cole saying he's the innovator of the go to sleep 90,000 times during his matches.
Well, it looks like his finishing move is going to be the double stomp,
Well,
though.
and
is
I
bull
want
crap.
to hear what our crowd thinks of this. I made this bold prediction to you guys relating the NXT guys. I think Neville drops his title on an episode of Raw.
I don't know.
That's
You got
a
to keep that for
prediction.
NXT.
It's not coming.
I think,
It's not coming for the next 4 weeks. But
no, because I think he's doing his. He's going to have a match with Zayn at the next NXT special. And that's going to be it.
completely.
would hope that.
We're gonna get a heel turn from Adrian Neville. I'm sorry, whether you like it or not.
Oh no, it's happening.
Adrian Neville, they teased it on Takeover. You're going to get a heel turn from Adrian Neville, and that's going to take us to Adrian Neville versus Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn being the face who finally gets his championship in the next Takeover special, which will be in November.
I didn't like the route that they went with that heel turn because it's a fatal four-way. Obviously, he's going to break up the pin at any cost. I mean, that's logical.
Yeah, but as soon as he pulled the referee out, the entire crowd started booing the man.
Yeah, but you know what? The announcers didn't sell that as a heel turn, though. They were saying Neville did whatever it took to retain his title. They did not signify that it was a heel turn. The fans turned on him, not the rest of the company.
But that's how you get a good heel turn started. The fans have to do the turn. The fans have to be the ones that start booing. And they weren't. That's the thing, though. That's exactly right. You saw on Monday Night Raw. Adrian Neville is billed as the NXT champion because that's what he is. And he got the victory on Raw last week, right, with the Red Arrow. And Red Arrow trend like crazy. But who do the fans respond to the most in that match?
Zayn.
Sami freaking Zayn. Why? Because people know him from his past. People know him as El Generico. People loved him as El Generico.
And he's really good.
People know who he is. People love the work that he does in the ring. My wife was freaking marking out during that main event on Thursday night. My wife loves actually seeing guys do high flying moves. She loves RVD. She loves Jeff Hardy. She loves these guys that just lose whatever they can do, like just lose their minds and start doing all these high flying moves and stuff. And watching that Fatal 4-Way, she was losing her mind. She loves Tyler Breeze, even though that's the blue steel gimmick from freaking Zoolander.
Well, let's
all these
Tyler
guys.
Breeze.
Tyler Breeze.
Where is the ceiling with Tyler Breeze? That's a question I find myself finding a hard time to answer.
I'll tell you this, John. I don't think that the ceiling is as low as you might think it is. I think that gimmick can actually get over on the main roster, as opposed to certain gimmicks from NXT like Mojo Rawley, CJ Parker. These guys I don't think will get anywhere over on the main roster. I think the Ascension will get over on the main roster, but I don't think that certain gimmicks like Bayley. I don't think Bayley's going to get over on the main roster. We saw what happened with Emma, and that was bullcrap.
Well,
I think the ceiling is a lot higher.
He's got a great super
for
kick.
Tyler Breeze. I think Tyler Breeze, he does a freaking spinning heel kick as his finish, and it gets pops.
Yeah, that's true.
Reaction. He does an Owen Hart spinning heel kick as his finish and gets over with it. I think the ceiling is very high, and I think that at some point he's going to reach up, break through that ceiling, and grab a brass ring. Whether it's just the Intercontinental title, whether it's whether he stays in the mid card, I don't know. I think that his interest is spectacular. The fact that they Bluetooth his freaking iPhone to the daggum Titantron, and you can see him doing. I hope that we get his interest tonight on Raw. I'm not gonna lie. I really do hope that we get all four guys. If they all appear on the show tonight, I really hope that we get their interests on Raw, and I really hope that they Bluetooth that image because I think that it's hilarious. I think that they've taken a gimmick that probably wouldn't work on paper, and he sells it so well that it gets over. And I think that he'll get over on Raw, and I think that he'll get over on the main roster with that gimmick. And I think that sky's the limit for him in working a gimmick like that because on paper, any other guy as well. I think if you gave that gimmick to Adam Rose, that freaking Leo Kruger, I don't think you're going to get the same effect. I think that it has to be on Tyler Breeze.
Well, they gave the gimmick to Cody Rhodes.
And it was terrible.
Mirrors. Yeah.
Dashing Cody Rhodes, and it was bad.
You just need the right guy to do it. And
exactly
just to finish off the NXT, another bold prediction, I'm stealing Alba's gimmick here. As far as the future of the NXT Championship is concerned, like we said, I think Sami Zayn does beat Adrian Neville at the next special event. That moves Neville up to the big time. And then for a fact, especially with Triple H at the helm, they're going to do Zayn versus Steen for that title at some point. That's Zayn's first big feud out of the Neville thing. So
Kenta Zayn.
Zayn Kenta, yeah. Oh my God! Just the fact that we're even talking about these feuds right now, Zayn versus Steen, and Zayn versus Kenta, and Neville versus Zayn. Like, I'm loving it, people. I'm loving it.
Exactly right. And we're talking about NXT more than we're talking about Raw because that's how good some of those guys in NXT are. We're talking about a bunch of different things. Talking about Raw tonight. You got it. Yeah. What?
I'm sorry. I just wanted to make one more quick NXT comment, real quick here. Really, really dig Enzo Amore right now.
Oh yeah, dude. Enzo's freaking over, bro.
And Orange Cassidy is too. Big Cass is too for sure. It's
that's WFT.
That's something that I think would work on the main roster.
Totally, dude. He's so over, it's ridiculous. And I think when they make that move up, it's going to be a good thing. a good thing. Forget about it. You know
Oh
what I'm
yeah,
saying?
and don't forget about the guy who squashed your boy C.J. Parker at NXT Takeover, Baron
He ain't my
Corbin. He's
boy.
something special too.
Baron Corbin's going to use the same biker gimmick that every other biker is used. He's going
His
to
I like his
name
style around the
sucks.
ring. Don't sleep on him.
It is Borden Stevens.
Ryan.
It is Borden Stevens.
Let me tell you something right now, John. If names mattered, Dolph Ziggler would not be the Intercontinental
Angle
Champion.
Curtis.
Exactly.
John, don't even
Don't-
start with the
don't-
name stuff.
People thought Daniel Bryan was a stupid name, and look what happened.
Exactly
Austin
right.
Stevens.
Don't even start. Don't even
Austin
start.
Stevens.
Don't even start because what? Stephen Keane? We're gonna get
Stephen
Stephen Keane. soon? I don't care what their names are. It doesn't.
We know who the
matter.
guy is.
Because honestly, I mean, Antonio Cesaro with
Batista
Claudio
Davidson.
Castagnoli. Get out
How
of
much?
here.
How long is it until Hideo Itami becomes Hideo?
Right. No, that was my thing. I actually
Tommy.
tweeted that. I tweeted that on Thursday. I was like, okay, God Almighty. We literally just had Antonio Cesaro and Biggie Langston go to one-namers, Big E and Cesaro, and now you're giving Kenta, who was a one-namer, a freaking full name, Hideo Itami. And I had some people on Twitter say, well, maybe he chose that for a reason. Like he's got. I don't give a crap what he chose. Do you think Cesaro got to pick Antonio Cesaro? His real name's Claudio Castagnoli. Get out of here, bull crap. Awful. Awful. Dean Ambrose's name is Jonathan Good, and you're really going to tell me Seth Rollins' name is a freaking Mexican name?
I was going to say, you were more startled by Seth Rollins than anything
The
else.
most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Don't get me wrong, Seth Rollins is totally a better name.
Look,
for the
I'm
guy.
just waiting for Callaway Marcus to make his reemergence.
If you don't know what John's referencing, the Undertaker's real name is Mark Calloway, and that's really funny that he just pulled that off. And I'm sorry, I'm Undertaker Mark, so that's funny to me. We're talking everything from Raw to NXT to freaking Night of Champions. We're having a good time here, as we always do a wrestling warm-up. We're having a good amount of viewers, so we're thanking you for tuning in and watching us. We'll be getting off of here very shortly. But we're going to talk about a couple other things. We talked about Lesnar being on Raw. John, we didn't get your thoughts about Lesnar on Raw tonight. What does that make you feel like? Are you excited about Lesnar being on Raw tonight?
It's the first time I have felt the need to watch Raw in the last 3 weeks, because as you guys are aware, I haven't caught Raw live the past 3 weeks.
Right.
This is my first week that I'll be catching Raw live in the last 3 weeks, so it gives me purpose, and that's the huge advantage you have with a champion like him.
And thank you. John just summed up everything I said about it in a matter of 20 seconds. Again, Brock Lesnar as your champion means something. He's not on television every week, which means when he is on television every week, or when he is on television, it makes it mean more, and it makes it more exciting. It makes it more of a must-see program. What do you think we get out of Jericho Orton going forward? We know that Orton, apparently there's some rumors coming out this today about the fact that Orton hadn't been happy about his position on the card, even though the guy's a main eventer. He has been, I don't believe this rumor at all, by the way. The fact that Orton was primarily the guy being looked at last Monday on Raw just goes to show they were putting emphasis on him. Don't try to give me a report that says Randy Orton's not getting the emphasis put on him, because he was the major player as far as everything goes Monday night. I don't get that at all. The fact that he's asking for time off because he hasn't been in the main event picture. The guy was champion from December to March, April. So why would I believe in a rumor that Randy Orton he's not happy with his position on the card? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. But with Jericho leaving after Sunday to go on tour with Fozzy, we know that Jericho's done after Night of Champions. Do we see Randy Orton punt him into obliteration? Do we see Randy Orton take him out completely? Is that how we see Jericho getting written off this time around?
Well, Orton needs a win bad. He really does. He needs a pay-per-view win bad. He hasn't had one in a long time. So he's due for that. Regarding Jericho, I mean, is it bad that I don't really care?
Well, he hasn't done much this run to make you care.
No, I mean, he hasn't looked bad.
He's looked a lot better the last few weeks, but his opening matches weren't good.
They'll probably write him off in some capacity, or he'll get fired, or something will happen. I mean, he's been very public with this. It's not like this is going to be like, oh, is he actually going to leave? Like, we know he's gone.
Right, he's done. He's done Sunday, which we've talked about since June. So,
I mean, we thought he was getting written off a couple weeks ago.
No, I didn't believe that whatsoever. We talked about last week. In our own personal feed, we were talking about, are they going to write him off now that he has a knee injury? Even though we had been saying from day one he's going to wrestle one more match in Night of Champions and be done, we initially thought it was going to be a 3-match set with Bray Wyatt. Obviously, we know that they moved the third match with Bray Wyatt up to last week, the season premiere of Monday Night Raw, where we got a good cage match out of it. One of the things that should have been done well before Monday Night Raw this past week, if not waited for Night of Champions. One of these things, I don't care. I just really don't care. I don't care what happens here. I am beyond careless about what happens with Chris Jericho. I love Chris Jericho. I love everything that he does in the ring. I love his entrance. I love his ring work. I thought he showed off a couple weeks ago on Raw. I thought he showed off last week on Raw trying to do a freaking crossbody off the top of the cage for no apparent reason other than
first time since 1993. I think he said that he did that.
It's been 20 plus years since he jumped off the top of a cage. That's pretty intense. That means that alone let you know that maybe he's going to be gone very soon. And of course, we know that it's going to be Sunday. I didn't believe for a second that he was actually going to be written off this past Monday, even though they were teasing that he might.
I wasn't talking this past Monday. I was talking about when he was on SmackDown a few weeks back.
Yeah, I didn't think that at all either.
Yeah.
I fully expected if Jericho has a schedule set before him, he's going to work the entire dates. I mean, he's going to work every date that he has set before him. And if Night of Champions is on that, he's going to work Night of Champions. So now we have Jericho and Orton for Sunday. Obviously, if you want to know what our predictions are for the Night of Champions card, tune in to WrestlingRumors.net for the
drinking game's coming back.
Drinking game's coming back on Sunday. We're going to have full predictions come Saturday or Friday, whatever Walter gets them up. Whenever he asks us for our predictions, we get them to him, and that's when he puts them up. So make sure you're tuning in for that. One more match we need to talk about, and one more feud that we need to talk about before we get off of here is, what do you think we're going to see between the stupid Bella Twins and AJ and Paige tonight? Do we think that we get Brie added to this match tonight?
Well, we have the tag match, right?
Yeah, the tag match.
We have a tag match that doesn't really matter. We can talk about that in a second. Let's talk about the Divas match right quick. Do you think we get Brie added at all?
No. She'll be the reason Nikki doesn't win on Sunday. She'll interfere in that regard. Well, yeah, it just doesn't make sense. The reason she wasn't booked in the first place is because Stephanie McMahon was the one who announced the match, and she just had her thing with Brie in the first place. Why would she give her a Divas Championship match? You know, it was supposed to be special. You know, when Nikki turned on her sister, here's your reward. I'm going to grant you a Divas Championship match. And now
then why am I still getting segments between Brie and Nikki?
Because they don't want you to forget about it. This is probably going to go past the Divas thing and into the Hell in the Cell pay-per-view. Maybe we get Nikki versus Brie there. Inside the Cell. First time ever, 2 divas inside the Cell.
Happening.
Oh, the match would be a freaking waste of time. Hashtag waste.
It sucks.
Wouldn't be to see Nikki thrown off the top?
No.
Because I love, as I've said, I absolutely love what's going on with Paige and AJ right now.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It took so much time for it to happen, but it finally happened, and oh man, it is so bad.
What are you doing?
Fellas? It's so bad.
The Bellas.
You only see you from the waist up. You're in your bed or whatever, and you're like this.
Paige and AJ doing HLA on TV. Oh my God.
Oh, please, more of this.
John's just begging for them to kiss finally instead of just teasing
I
it.
never said that.
Just
Today,
begging
anyway.
for it instead of teasing it with the title.
I did not beg for it. I just asked when it was going to happen.
I think the title kiss was as much as you're going to get anytime soon. It's a PG product, John.
Yeah, they shake
Okay,
hands. They don't make out.
acceptance. There are lesbians in this country. It happens.
That's not PG, John. It's not PG anymore.
Tolerance,
It's never
man.
been PG.
So we're allowed to let someone go to a freaking Vikings with a switch wearing an Adrian Peterson jersey, but we can't watch that. What has America become, man?
Hey, guess how many millions of people watch Monday Night Football?
How many?
15. How many people watch Raw?
4.
Suck it. They can get away with it more than we can. Let's talk about the tag match before we get out of here. The tag feud between Goldust, Stardust, and of course your boys, the Usos there, Walter. Do we actually see Goldust and Stardust pull away with the titles on Sunday? Do you feel that's going to happen?
No, because I think the Usos. They could face Lesnar in a handicap match. I'd be the only one to pick the Usos, and I get my points. Usos are money, baby. They're winning the tag team titles. I'm telling you, like I've said for months, and Alba could open his mouth if he wants to. The Ascension are the ones who take the titles off of Usos, not Goldust and Stardust. The fact that they've been playing up this injury with Jimmy or Jey Uso, whichever one of the two has the problem, it's just going to make their victory more special.
At least Paige DQ last pay-per-view, right?
Yeah.
You know what, Alba? I've heard enough out of you. We're going to forget that prediction ever happened. Let's go back to how awesome the Usos are and how they won about 50 matches in a row. No points for Alba. You're losing points now. I'm deducting
Who
points.
won 2013? I forgot.
Sorry?
Who won in 2013? I forgot.
You know what, Alex? You too. Mutes all around. Where's the mute button? Is the M? Is that how it works?
I think that's how it works, but I don't know. Alba's basking in his greatness over there, just hanging out.
Oh, the champ is here, right, B-Song? Look
at
him. He's posing.
He's basking.
Mute.
Yes, he's basking. You don't have to listen to him. You can just watch his basking. Watch his baskiness. He's even taking his glasses off to rub his eye. He's basking in the greatness of himself.
What are we even doing?
It's good TV. So honestly, I mean, I have to disagree. I have to think that Stardust and Goldust finally get a win here, get the titles back. They haven't had the titles since freaking what?
More points for me.
When did they lose the titles to the Usos? Oh, they lost the titles to the New Age Outlaws, which was when
it was February.
It
was February.
Yeah. So I think that since they're the tag team that's been looking for the Cosmic Key, which we know the Cosmic Key is exactly the WWE Tag Team Championships. We might get an actual victory here between these guys who have now turned heel because Ryback's out. I'm gonna pick them and I'm gonna get it wrong because I don't pick the Usos every GD time.
It was supposed to be Harper and Rowan, right? They were supposed to do it. They had 2 chances. 2-0, baby. Resident Canadian.
We know how the Wyatts are getting booked right now, which is just absolutely ridiculous.
And isn't Harper hurt?
Say it again.
Isn't Harper hurt right now too?
Is he?
His heart's broken. He's losing too damn much.
He keeps picking up freaking Big Show and trying to throw him over or something.
Harper.
Water's playing with a soccer ball. What's happening right now?
Our pets' heads are falling off.
Our pets' heads are falling off. This has been Wrestling Warm Up. You've been watching Wrestling Warm Up for the last hour. And
God bless you.
It's been fun. But we're going to turn it over to the WWE Network and to the Raw pre-show. We got a lot of things happening. We'll try to hopefully get some freaking pay-per-view build, some further build, and get probably get some other matches added, which is ridiculous. But let's see what happens. You can live tweet along with us at WrestleRumors. All these guys have Twitter accounts, so I'll be talking about it as well. If they're not watching Monday Night Football, at John Alba SFC, at Water Sports 26, because at Water Sports is still suspended.
Free Walder! Free Walder!
And of course, Alex P-Song at Glass Mode ALB. We'll all be tweeting tonight. You can follow along with us. You can live tweet with us at WrestleRumors, at Doug O'Mac. People tweet me all the time there. I rarely check that account. I'm sorry, I really do. But one of those things at WrestleRumors. That's where I'm usually at. That's where we're gonna be live tweeting from tonight. You can do that with us. Obviously, there'll be the Wrestling Rumors Raw live community going live at 7:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The live chat that you can get in. Talk to each other about what's going on, live interaction during Raw. It's a cool concept. Make sure you get back in a chat room on the WrestlingRumors.net page. It's the first thing that you'll see, the live community link. Click on it, go in there, talk to people that are watching Raw, and just interact with each other, talk about what you like, what you don't like, and it's an instant gratification thing. You can do that on Twitter as well, but we have a live community, a chat room for you as well here on WrestlingRumors.net. We love you guys. Thanks for tuning in, Wrestling Warm Up, and we'll catch you on the next one. Enjoy Raw. We'll be tweeting along with you.